Hey, JD here. Welcome to the Mead House. You know, over the past several years, we've brought you over 150 episodes of mead making education, information, and entertainment. More than 100 guests have stopped by the Mead House, professional mead makers, medal-winning home mead makers, competition organizers, experts on yeast and honey, and brewers just like you and me have all visited to share their knowledge. Hey, the Mead House is produced for home mead makers and brewers looking for a bit of inspiration and information from the many guests and discussions we have here at the house. You can help support the Mead House by joining the Mead House Keyholder Club on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com and search for the Mead House. There's also a link in the show notes. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a keyholder. We've teamed up with some great companies to provide thank you gifts for your support. So get on over to Patreon, join the Mead House Keyholder Club, and get your own set of keys to the Mead House. You can listen to the Mead House podcast with your favorite player, and be sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite listening venue. The Mead House, mead making entertainment you just don't want to miss. Hey, welcome to the Mead House, and thanks for listening to episode number 210. Wait a minute, I've got like 2010. Am I jumping ahead of the game here, guys, or what? I think it's supposed to be episode 210, Jeff, isn't it? Is that where we're
Sounds
at?
right to me.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we've got a pretty special show tonight, so I'm going to forego the incident that took place in the backyard with the chicken coop and the cement mixer after the hay baler caught fire, and while dragging the fire hose, the grain barrel got knocked over and fell on top of the, well, never mind. Like I said, we got more important things to do right now. Hey, you know where to listen to the show. You can catch it all on the front page of themeadhouse.com, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify. The whole list is right up there on the front page. And hey, rate us 5 stars on your listening venue if you don't mind. We certainly do appreciate it. Hey, in this episode, we got an email from a listener that says he's listened to every show, only been in the hobby for a couple of years. His folks have a 1-acre hop yard, and because of that, got involved in the beer brewing industry. Now, I've been around cats all my life, but never gave a thought to starting a cat farm. Listener Kyle Ducharme is here with us and wants to spend some time here at the house. Hey, in segment 2, and here's another one. Jeff was taking his son to school and had to return home to fetch his jacket. And along the way, bonfires entered his mind. Now, I don't know what's going on here, but I've driven down the road a piece, forgot my briefcase, had to go back to get it. But thoughts of bonfires never entered my mind. So more on that later when we check in with Jeff in segment 2. And of course, segment 3, that's the social club. This is where we try to answer questions from mead makers with no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew house. All that and more here at the Mead House. But first, hey, thanks to all the Mead House key holders out there who help keep the Mead House podcast free. You know, you too can become a Mead House key holder and help support the show for as little as $2 a month. We've got some great thank you gifts out there to send to you, plus a listing of key holder only content over on Patreon. So just head on over there, patreon.com, search for the Mead House, or just simply click on the link in the show notes. What are we drinking tonight, guys? It's Tequila Tuesday in my house tonight. And but I am double fisting, and I'll talk about the second one here in a minute. I'm drinking a San Matias Gran Reserva. This is an extra agave, 100% agave. You know, and don't let that fool you. I mean, 99.9% of the tequilas out there are all 100% agave. This one clocks in about 80 proof or so. This one was aged in 3 years in white oak barrels, and it's a very smooth tequila. Last I checked, this actually, I think this runs around $80 a bottle. Now, I might be mistaken. Now, here's the deal. I know some of the upper level tequilas, the Añejos and extra Añejos, are beginning to be a little bit difficult to obtain here lately. So keep your eye out on the price. You might want to shop around a little bit if you've got some discount dealers out there. But this tequila is very, very smooth, very nice. Right off the nose, you get that barrel and that barrel char, that sweet American oak aroma. I got to take a sip. I'm gonna, Ryan. One show, Ryan says, "I don't know why you guys always take a sip and then tell us about it." I'm gonna do it anyway. I just love this stuff. This is a very smooth tequila. Like I said, it only clocks in at 80 proof, so it goes down really, really smoothly. 3 years in a white American oak barrel gives it that barrel char right off the top, and then as you work through the mid palate, you start picking up those caramels and vanillas. And at the tail end, you're left with some of the spices that you might pick up, like, things like something you would pick up out of a rye, those kinds of spices. And it's a clean finish. It's very nice. It makes you want to take a second sip for sure. San Matias Extra Añejo Tequila. Now, in my other hand, it's been a while since I've had anything in a fermenter. And since I emptied them out several months back, haven't brewed anything. Everybody knows we took off for the whole month of June, so I didn't want to start anything while we were out of town. And so I'm completely out of cider. Now, typically I try to hang on to it throughout the year. And I'm really, really late in getting next year's cider in the fermenter. So in place of that, one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorite British ciders that I tried to mimic with my recipe is the original Magners Irish cider. I said British, didn't I? This is an Irish cider. This stuff is awesome. It's dry. It tastes like apples. There's a bit of sweetness to it, but it's that apple sweetness. Doesn't last very long. And I'm going to take another sip, Ryan. Wow, wow, wow. I love this stuff. This is the one, my recipe's pretty simple. I've had it out there for, I've talked about it, 100 times. It's just simply 5 gallons of apple cider. I use a Nottingham yeast, and it's a British ale yeast. You can use, what is it, California? I think it's 005, I think, is the WLP 005. And don't quote me on this, but I think that's the British ale yeast from White Labs. But I like Nottingham. I like what it does. I ferment it right around 70 degrees. Anywhere between 68 and 70 degrees, and it's dry. I put 1 can of apple concentrate in, along with the apple juice, and then in secondary, after I stabilize it, after it's all done, and it clocks, the hydrometer just clocks out at the bottom. I stabilize it, and then I add 2 cans of frozen apple juice concentrate. And then you must let it sit. Okay, if you want to capture that apple flavor, there's something about apple ciders. You just got to let it sit. It's not a sweet cider. When I put the recipe together, it's only a couple pounds, if that, of honey. So I guess you could call it a sizer in that respect. But it only gets up to about 1056, 1060 at the top, and that's all I want. What you wind up with, if you let it finish all the way out to the bottom, is a really nice dry cider. Let it sit for a good 8-9 months, and you're going to have yourself a nice apple cider for the holidays. Anyway, that's what I got going in my glasses tonight. Jeff, what's in yours?
So, 2 glasses as usual here. In the first one, I've got another Sap House. This is, again, that mixed berry experiment. And, again, tasting notes live, because tasting notes live. Nice jammy flavors. This one's been open for a little while. It's starting to oxidize just slightly, so it's time to drink this guy up. I started this one a month or two ago. I don't remember exactly how long. And yeah, no, it's good right now, and need to drink it up while it stays good, because it seems like getting a little oxygen in through the barrel seals on these guys. In my other glass, I mentioned for notes for segment 2, it's suddenly jacket weather today. It's also pollen season like crazy, and they are playing merry hell with my sinuses. So I made myself a cup of Earl Grey tea with some honey and a nice slug of some Corbel brandy.
There you go.
Hopefully just preserve my voice a little bit through tonight.
Sounds good. Ryan, I hope you're not drinking tea.
I am not drinking tea tonight. JD, you weren't too far off last week when you were telling all of our guests why I was not around, and you were talking about the farmers and everything else. A friend of mine runs a farm-to-table nonprofit here, and he delivers in the Twin Cities, and all the producers are up in central Minnesota, and picked me up. He goes on Saturdays. He does this. So on Saturdays, he picked me up at 4:30 in the morning. And why I agreed to do it, I'm not exactly sure. But he picked me up at 4:30 in the morning. We drove up to central Minnesota, and he started out by primarily getting farm fresh eggs. So, farm fresh eggs from these small, family-owned little farms.
Yeah.
And delivering those, but he's got a lot more. So we were picking up. They do quarter cows, and half hogs, and whole chickens, and lamb, and turkey, and rabbits, and now they offer all kinds of stuff, from fresh pasta to maple syrup to, pesticide free, black beans and green beans and cornmeal and all this kind of stuff. So all this cool stuff. So we went around to all these different farms and had to pick up, whatever that farm was kind of specializing in, and then drove back down here to the Twin Cities to deliver it. So you weren't too far off, but I think some of those old farmers, and farmers' wives probably could toss a bale of hay farther than I could, JD. So that. But so here's the thing: just like we talk about, the best place to buy honey and the best honey you can get is local. Right? If you can get good local honey, you can buy it from a local beekeeper. Yeah. That's what we really recommend. Good place to start. Well, same thing with this. These eggs and hogs and chickens and lambs and everything else you're getting. If you can buy it local, find guys like my buddy here and support those really small family farms, because just about every single one of them is kind of struggling. So
yep, absolutely.
Do that farm table stuff, and getting to meet those farmers is really cool. Really great stuff. And the one of them I was even asking, he's talking. We're out there, it's still dark out. We're talking to him, and we're getting some I think quarter cows from him, and I said, hey, do you do veal? JD, I love veal. I love good veal cutlets, and oh man, I just love it.
Yep, same here.
You got do you do veal? And he goes, well, on demand or by request. And I go, well, this is me requesting. I'm ready. So I think next spring there I'll get some good milk fed veal. Good. So JD, all right, now, and Jeff, I'll get you guys. Since the beginning of summer-ish, let's say unofficial summer, or Memorial Day-ish, maybe a little bit before Memorial Day.
Sure.
Guess how many pounds of limes I've gone through?
30.
22.
Ooh, both good guesses, but I'd start with the right hand and take the left hand and put those numbers together, because I have gone through 50 pounds of limes this summer.
50 pounds?
50 pounds of limes.
Dude, I don't even use that much when I make margaritas in the summertime. 50 pounds?
50
No
pounds
scurvy
of
in the
limes.
Richardson household.
No.
Jeez.
If I was an old timey sea captain, there would be no scurvy on the ship. I'll tell you that.
No.
There is.
Dang.
Well, yeah, because we started out making margaritas. Started out making the margaritas. You know, we talked
Yeah.
pretty exhaustive about the margaritas. Well, later in the summer, so August-ish.
You
know,
were
I
making
switched
your own
over.
sweet and sour too, right?
Not well. I mean, I was making margarita mix when I was
Oh, yeah,
making.
yeah.
And then starting about August-ish, I switched over and started making classic daiquiris. Now, you know, the classic daiquiri is a classic cocktail. It is not, I mean, if you think about this, it is not the classic daiquiri is not the red slushy drink
Right, you throw in the blender.
served in a hurricane glass,
Right.
you know, that kind of thing. When Ernest Hemingway was drinking daiquiris in Havana, Cuba, they were not red slushies served in hurricane glasses.
Yeah.
You
With
know,
pink straws.
yeah, the classic daiquiri is delicious and boozy, and you know it's typically so a good rule of thumb, you know, when you're doing the proportions is remember 2 1 half 2 1 half two parts rum, 1 part fresh squeezed lime juice, half a part sugar. So if you're doing this at home, you would take, now again, typically the classic daiquiris are made with clear rum or white rum, you know, or light rum or white rum. So you take a good white rum or light rum, and you take, say, just do it really simple: 2 ounces light rum, 1 ounce fresh squeezed lime juice, and 1 tablespoon of white sugar. Now you typically you'd throw that in a shaker with a lice, you know, and you'd shake it up, and then you'd serve it up, straight up, and it would be you typically strain that into a coupe, a champagne coupe, or sometimes they're called champagne saucers. These are like those old timey champagne glasses that are really shallow and wide.
Right. Yeah.
So they're typically served like in that. And they're very boozy, and they taste delicious though, just gloriously delicious. Now,
so can you replace the tablespoon of sugar with that's about what, maybe a half ounce of when I do my simple syrup, it's a 1-to-1, so maybe a half ounce of simple syrup.
Yeah, you could. You could do a little bit of simple. Yeah, half ounce of simple syrup would be about right on that.
Yeah.
So they're just delicious. Wow. They're boozy. Now they're typically served up. Now, what you can do if you don't have a cocktail shaker, what you do is you just put that all in a mason jar. Put the rum, the lime juice, the sugar in a mason jar. Drop a couple ice cubes in there. Be careful. I know some of you guys, listeners, are real strong guys, and you could probably shake the mason jar hard enough, and the ice would probably crack it apart, right? So be gentle and then strain it in there. Now, here's the other thing on that. If that's too boozy for you, I understand it might be a little too boozy for you. It's not a traditional way to do it, but I have had people that like it on the rocks. Just they do on the rocks. And that's fine. I mean, it's again, there's whatever you like is the best way to drink it, right? So now, okay, so we're talking about the daiquiris. How is this coming back down to us, right? We're big on formulas here, right? The Ryan Braggot is a formula. The Ryan Margarita is a formula.
Yeah.
The Ryan Daiquiri, it's a formula. We're gonna let you tweak on the recipe. So I wanted a little something. First of all, there's really no need to improve on a classic daiquiri. I mean, you can tweak with it, but you're just gonna make it different. You're not gonna make it better. And so but how to make it different? How do we get some honey in there? How do we get a little more character in there? Well, I wanted to do what I was going to call. I ended up calling it the Golden Daiquiri. Now, here's the Golden Daiquiri. I started out with dark rum. This
Oh yeah.
this bottle of rum I have is double aged rum. It's double aged rum, just like you find a double aged whiskey or double aged scotch.
Uh,
They start this rum off in a heavily charred American oak barrel. So it's the rum, it comes out of the still, it's everything comes out of the still clear, right? Whiskey comes out of the still clear, and so it comes out of the still clear. They put it in heavily charred American oak barrels. It sits there for quite a while, and then they move it into a medium toast French oak barrel.
is that a plantation rum by any chance?
This is the Plantation Original Dark.
I've had it, and it's awesome rum.
It is really good rum.
Awesome rum.
Yeah, and guys, for those of us, for those of you're on a budget or you're on a leash, either way, rums but rule are generally a lot cheaper than whiskeys.
Oh, you lie. Yeah. Yeah.
Sugar cane is not that expensive. All right, so it's a double aged whiskey. So first in a charred American oak barrel, then it goes to a medium toast French oak barrel. It gets some amazing flavors.
Mhm.
Well, then what I did is, so I took 2 ounces of that, right? 1 ounce fresh squeezed lime juice.
Hey, hang on a minute. Kyle, I know we can't hear you, but stand by. We'll be right there.
And
Go on, Ryan.
and then I took a tablespoon of avocado honey. Nice malty,
Oh, yeah.
kind of dark honey.
Yeah.
And I put that in a mason jar. Put it in the mason jar, shook it up. Now again, with the honey, you really got to shake. But you shake it up really, really nicely. And now it's got this golden color, right? This golden color. And I poured it right in the glass.
Yeah.
And it is just delicious. I mean, this is, it's got the body, of and the warmth that you get out of like a good old fashioned almost, something nice and strong. So I call that the golden daiquiri. Again, play around with this. The formula is 2, 1, half. So if you want to be really simple with it, 2 ounces rum, 1 ounce lime juice, half ounce, or 2 parts. Yeah, 2 parts rum, 1 part lime juice, half part sugar or honey. So simply 2 ounces of rum, 1 ounce of lime juice, and then a tablespoon of your honey. Play around with rums, play around with honeys. Hell, play around with the type of juice you use if you really want.
Yeah,
and
word.
You could come up with something really special.
A word about the rums. I'm not a rum drinker by any stretch of the matter. I mean, I couldn't tell you a good rum from a bad rum, to be honest with you. So I recently got into rums. I can't remember what the wife wanted to make, some kind of a drink that involved rum. So we had to get some rum. So I didn't know one rum from another. And there's different, I mean, I'm starting to learn. There's Barbados rum, there's Caribbean rum, there's South American rum, and they all taste different. They all got their own little nuances that are quite different from one another. So, I'd rely on the guy at the liquor store, hey, turn me on to a decent rum, that'll make a nice mixed drink. Well, he recommended the plantation rums. And gosh, I think we've got like maybe 5 or 6 bottles of different plantation rums, and there's a couple of them. You know what? Next show, I'll drink one of them on the air. I mean, one of them that we picked up to use in mixed drinks. I told the wife, I said, "No, we're not using this in mixed drinks. This is too good to waste on something else." And I mean, it's definitely a sipper. We've run across a couple of them like that. Yeah, so plantation rums, hey, I'm sold on them. Good stuff.
So, yeah, the last thing I'll say about this is, again, I'd love to, if you guys played around, Meat House Nation, you guys play around making your Ryan daiquiris. I'd love to hear what you guys come up with, what combinations of rums and honeys and and juices,
Well, even
make the best one.
yeah, even the we haven't hit on a lot of these barrel. This might be something we might want to ask Kyle about, whether he's considered it or not, because we'll talk about his barrel project when we get to him. But we have talked in the past about different woods and different tastes and whatnot. Rum is one of those things that might go very nicely with a mead. When you're aging out a mead, maybe some wood soaked in some rum, maybe the addition of some rum, to the mead. So I'm very interested in that part.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say, because you're talking about different kinds of rums, uh, I think the most distinctive rums out there, and my favorite, are Jamaican rums.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that what makes the Jamaican rums unique is that typically when you make a wash, they're the most. First of all, they're the most estery. They are the most estery rums out there. And typically when you make a wash, so whether you're going to make a whiskey wash or a gin wash or a rum wash, they ferment extremely quickly, right? I mean, we've talked about this probably 150 episodes ago, but people would ask us questions about the turbo yeast, right?
Yeah.
That can distiller's yeast that ferments, in 12 hours it can ferment, 20% ABV, kind of thing. And those washes are distilled super quickly. Well, Jamaican rum is typically distilled slowly. And when I say slowly, not distilled, fermented. It's fermented slowly. They ferment it over like a week. So typically it takes about a week, So Barbados rum, some of those rums, they'll ferment in 2 days. 1 day, 2 days, using like a turbo yeast type thing, and just choose through it, and then they take that wash and then they distill it. Well, when they're fermenting Jamaican rum, they take a good week to do it, and it develops all of these amazing esters. So Jamaican rums are my favorite because they're the most distinctive, they're the most estery. I think they give the most. And this plantation rum is actually a blend. It's a blend of rums. It's a blend of Barbados rum and Jamaican rum as they're doing it. So it is pretty good. All right, we better move on.
Kyle's probably sound asleep on the other. All right, yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
So
introduce our guest.
Celine, every episode. I don't know whether to congratulate him or wish him luck. I don't. It's I don't know if that's a punishment or what that is, but no, he listens to every show. You mentioned his parents have an acre hop yard, and he got involved in the beer industry, and he is a quality analyst at a brewery. I volunteered to be quality analyst at several breweries, and they still make me pay whenever.
I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, there was an old episode of Cheers where Norm gets hired by a brewery to be a taster. So he goes and he tastes out of the tanks. Like tank 3 is a little off. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, he's right. So yeah, I've tried to volunteer my palate to those breweries too, but they always give me a tab at the end. And he wanted to discuss his 30-gallon barrel project, his successes and failures with us. That sounds great. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah.
He really enjoys all of our comments. Well, we'll see after tonight. And he's looking forward to talking to us. Kyle comes from Vermont. He started making mead in the fall of 2019 after Googling what else he could make after his first batch of cider. The first thing I did was make cider too. The first ever batch of anything I fermented was a batch of cider, so Kyle's in good company. As with most mead makers, the hobby escalated, formed pretty quickly, and he absorbed all the information he could. You remember when I was talking to you when I moved into Mead House North, and I had said I had to downsize because I had something like 30 carboys and 300 bottles full of mead, and then that on the rack, and 40 cases of full mead. Oh my gosh, yeah, it escalated quickly. Um, let's see. His maple bourbon bochet was his first duplicated recipe that led him down the road of barrel aging and purchasing a 30-gallon freshly dumped Tomcat gin barrel.
Hmm.
That's interesting. A lot you can do with that. A daunting experience for many, but it is doable with just a simple setup of buckets and carboys. That's how it starts, isn't it,
Yeah,
guys?
lots of
Starts with
buckets. Huh?
buckets of carboys, and the next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're turning sideways to walk through your living room. Let's see. He wants to discuss some of the mead lessons he's learned and talk shop with the crew. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Kyle. How are you doing tonight? And then what's in your glass?
Hey guys,
Hey.
I'm doing great.
Hello.
Hey, so in one glass I have a strawberry mead that has 7 pounds strawberries per gallon, some hibiscus for color retention, and then some nice earthiness.
Wait a minute. Stop right there. Wait. You know, that's a hell of an idea, Jeff. How come we never thought about that? You know, the one thing about strawberry meads is they never look like strawberry. They never have that red color. My God,
you know
I
what
think
I use for color retention for my strawberry mead? Red food coloring.
red. My God, Kyle, you just hit a mark right here at the Mead House. So congratulations. Good stuff. Please continue.
I also really like how the hibiscus elevates the floral characteristics of the honey.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a I think it's a Dakota sweet clover honey in there that has the nice cinnamon characteristic, and it just adds a really nice note toward the end. But I'm sipping on that in one glass as just my mead for the night, and then the inspiration for my barrel. I have my other hand preoccupied with a Tomcat gin pour, a couple fingers of that. So something that's pretty cool about Tomcat is I think this would be the only gin that JD likes because it's aged in American oak for 6 months.
Oh.
It's the only botanicals in it are from juniper, and then they actually blend raw honey in toward the end to balance it out and also give that botanical characteristic.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, the distillery was actually founded in my hometown, and the company was founded by a beekeeper. So that's pretty interesting too.
Yeah. This is Tomcat Gin. Is it? I've never heard of it. Is it? Of course, I'm not a gin drinker, so I don't know one label from the next. But is it readily available or not?
Let me see. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that I was able to get a barrel of it relatively easily because it was only 10 minutes away from my house.
Well, I'll look around. I've got a couple of sources that I can check in with, but I would be interested in that.
Yeah, so the distillery is called Caledonia Spirit.
Okay.
And Tomcat Gin. But yeah, it's very fantastic. It has a really nice juniper note, and then this really nice honey sweetness characteristic to it with floral, and then it blends really nice into the vanillins and then the caramels. Really soft on the palate, and it's wonderful.
Wow.
But I decided on that barrel after making my successful batches of the maple bourbon bochet. In Vermont, we have plenty of maple syrup, and it's fantastic maple syrup. A lot of times you don't even know what to do with it. So a lot of people just give me maple syrup as gifts, and I was just kind of stockpiling it. And I'm like, I make mead, so you want to try some things out? And after listening to the show for a while, I heard a lot of bocets, and I think someone even mentioned a maple bourbon bochet on there. I don't think I came up with the idea, but it was just one that really stuck with my friends and myself, and I can never keep the stuff.
Well,
so I'm on
let's
batch number 5.
batch number 5. That sounds like a good starting point, Kyle. The Maple Bourbon Bochet. Let's start there. What kind of honey did you use? What kind of bourbon did you? And how did you? I want to know how you selected the bourbon to use with it, also, because I've got a theory about that. So, what kind of honey did you use, and at what level did you take the Bochet?
So I used a local Vermont wildflower honey.
Okay.
It's on the darker side. I Bochet'd it very softly on the stovetop.
Okay.
I just spent all day stirring over the pot. I love cooking, so this was nothing new for me. And basically, I did 2/3 of the Bochet honey, and then I blended it back with 1/3 of the unbochet honey.
Oh.
And I fermented that. After it fermented, I knew I wanted to add some other layer of complexity to it. And I really like oak. I really like bourbons. I really like Scotch. I really like, anything with wood.
Sure.
So what I did was I took your suggestions in shows prior and used I used a spiral. I haven't used any cubes yet, or I haven't used any chips. I just kind of went with the spiral because that was what was available to me at the homebrew store.
Mm-hmm.
And I soaked that with, I tried 4 Roses single barrel,
Okay.
and I've tried, what was that other one? Elijah Craig
Okay.
single batch. So what I did was I just tasted those, and I didn't want something that was I didn't really want a rye. I wanted something that was full of vanilla and full of caramel, not a lot of spice,
Right.
not a lot of like holiday spices.
Right. Yep.
So I kind of went with that profile. And
Okay.
then I just let I just soaked the oak for a week, and then I threw it in the carboy and let it sit. And that was really the inspiration for me to get into the barrel game.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to go 5 gallons because of the surface ratio problems that come with that. With, okay, the meat's going to be great for this short amount of time, and then, okay, it's over oaked. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that on the show about, because Jeff and I both have used the 5-gallon barrels. I'm just not sold on them. I think there's a better way. And of course, that better way is to do something like, we're going to talk about here in a little bit about your 30-gallon project. I think that's the size barrel you need to use, or at least, in the 50-gallon range even. But continue on, please.
Yeah, so since I didn't want to go the 5-gallon route, I kind of chalked it up to, I'm not going to be able to do this. And after tasting a lot of meats, mainly from like Sap House Meadery and a lot of other New Hampshire meaderies like Ancient Fire and Moonlight Meadery that are relatively close to me, I've had a lot of their barreled products, and I knew it was something I wanted to take part in, just try my hand at.
Yeah.
And by the way, the stuff they do at Sap House is fantastic. I visited them 3 months ago and had a little bit of that smoky peat, and
isn't that something?
That stuff is legendary. Yeah,
Isn't it?
Amazing. Kind of magical.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God, yeah, that's magical. And I don't know if you listened to this. Well, you said you listened to all the shows, but there was one show in particular. I had the original, which was aged quite a bit longer, and I'm telling you, I mean, it's just a knock your socks off project. I mean, I could not believe what I was drinking. It was so good. Unbelievable stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, so listening to the folks from Sap House, Ash and Evan, when they when they were talking about their barrel projects and how the barrel selection is so important, and they're very picky about it, and especially if it's in good condition, if it's wet, if the spirit in there tastes good.
Right.
So I wanted to be particular about a barrel project. So I got a bonus from work, and I was thinking, oh, what can I do with this? That'll be fun. And
of course, you didn't tell a wife about it, right?
No. No, I'm single, fortunately.
Oh, there you go. Lucky you. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's how I can do some of these projects and whatnot.
Oh
so
my
easily,
God.
Yeah. But yeah, so I decided that I was going to do a 30-gallon project because I didn't want to go 50, like the traditional 52, 53-gallon barrel. I thought that was a little too daunting. But I thought, okay, I can do 30 gallons.
Okay, so let's stop right there for a minute, Kyle. I want to take you all the way back to the beginning now. All right, and we'll pick up on the 30-gallon project here when we get done with this next part. Now, you started doing this in 2019. Had you ever had mead before that point at all? Did you know what it was that you were going to start fermenting?
No, not at all.
So you never had before that. So you just discovered this, Googling it, and you made a batch of cider. At what point did you decide, you know what, honey and water and yeast?
Well, I had these buckets, and I didn't want to brew beer because I was already in the brewing industry, and I can just get really good beer for free, basically.
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. And like in Vermont, we just were surpassed by Maine, but we used to have the most breweries per capita. So
wow.
we're pretty loaded with beer over here. But yeah, so I didn't really want to have the whole setup in my house of the kettle.
Right.
I didn't want to use any propane or anything like that. I wanted it to just be very simple. So
okay.
I just had a bucket. I had a carboy, and I had stirrers and airlocks and such. So I just Googled, okay, what am I going to do? What else can I do besides cider in a bucket? And I just saw that mead was a thing, and I was pretty excited about it. I mean, I heard about it in, reading and watching movies like Lord of the Rings and all that, but I had no idea what it was. And I'm a pretty adventurous person. I like trying different foods. I like just kind of pushing the envelope. So
where did you start? So was it just a traditional, or what was the first mead that you made?
Oh, the first mead was terrible. It was
aren't they? Aren't they all?
Yeah. It was some Walmart Simple and Pure. And I don't think I sanitized things properly, and I got like an infected batch, but it was like good for the first month, but it turned sour quick and not the way you want.
Yeah. But it didn't, you didn't, okay. So you didn't get discouraged, right? You kept pushing on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just kept going, and, one thing led to another. Basically, I just kept starting batch after batch after batch because I was kind of bored, especially
kind of grows on you.
2020, yeah. Heading into 2020, like I just had a little more free time and couldn't go anywhere, so I just started making more and more.
We call that COVID mead.
Oh yeah,
yeah, COVID mead. I think everybody's made several batches of that so far. So you made your first few batches of mead. Eventually you made something that tasted pretty good then, right?
Yeah, that was that maple bourbon Bochet.
Okay.
That's kind of the house favorite now.
Okay. And then let's go back to the 30-gallon project. You picked up this Tomcat 30-gallon barrel. Did you know what you wanted to do before you got the barrel? Had you thought it all out, or did you just say, I got this I got this little extra cash laying around. I think I'll go buy a barrel and see what I can do with it. How'd that all come about?
Yeah, so I first Googled barrels near me, and then I just figured out, oh, there's a distillery like pretty close by. So I'm just going to contact them. It's Vermont. Things are small. This can work out.
Yeah.
So I contacted them, and I got a lead on when they're pouring the Tomcat. So I have access to the barrel that day after they poured. And from that point, I had a deadline of when I could put a meat in there.
Okay.
So what I did from that point is called I called a local apiary about 20 minutes away, and I asked them for 120 pounds of local wildflower honey, and I had them ship it to me, and then I've got a couple more buckets. I didn't have that many buckets at the time, and I started fermenting.
Okay.
What I did with the honey is I made sure that each bucket has the same volume and same specific gravity, so that everything would try to be as consistent as possible. But I knew it'd be blended at the end anyway. So I was just focused on clean fermentation and having a relatively similar starting point for each.
Had you done any research on yeasts at all at this point or by this time? Did you know what particular yeast that you wanted to use for this project? I mean, we know there's a ton of them out there, that mead makers like to use.
Yeah, I wanted to use something that was between the 14 and 16% range for potential ABV. I didn't want something as harsh as like a champagne strain to strip out potential flavors. I heard some things about 2A23. I've used a lot of 71B, and I've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, that's a workhorse.
For this batch, I used 2A23, and it brought a really nice brightness to this honey. This honey was definitely, it was a blend between actually some local buckwheat that we have, but it was like very light on the buckwheat. So there's not that barnyard that's typical of buckwheat. And then it was blended with wildflower. It was all crystallized, so I had to spend the whole day just digging through the crystals and throwing it in the buckets and stirring, and it was quite the process, quite the event. But it was a lot of fun. And but yeah, from the yeast selection, I just wanted something that wouldn't get in the way of the honey too much, but would bring some nice bright characteristics. And 2A23 has definitely done that.
And so you ferment it all out, and now you've got all these barrels. Now, mind you, we're talking 5-gallon barrels, right? 7-gallon. You're talking little fermentation buckets. Is that what we're doing it in?
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of those sitting around in the house, right? 30 gallons worth.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we get done with the fermentation and then filling a 30-gallon barrel, okay, from all these buckets. How did you accomplish that?
So I set it down in the basement. My father is really good with woodworking, so he actually helped me with making like a stand for my barrel so that it wouldn't roll around and would be off the ground. And what I did is I stacked up some coolers to make sure the bucket was above the barrel.
There you go. Okay.
And that way I would have the gravity with the autosiphon to fill it up.
So it's just lifting one barrel after the other up on, and just siphoning off into the barrel then, right?
Yeah.
And so you hammer in the cork, and how long did you let this sit now?
Yeah, so it's currently been in there for 8 months, and the reason why I'm about to take it out is because this Tomcat was only in there for 6 months. So there was a lot of barrel characteristics still present, very strong.
Yeah.
So I kept tasting it every 2 months I tasted it to
Good.
see how it was coming along. And right now it's really good. And I decided, okay, what am I going to put in there? I can't just like leave it dry. It's going to,
Yeah.
get infected or dry out. And the next thing I put in there would just spill all over the basement. So I actually, I think it was a week and a half ago, I got 25 gallons of cider, picked a bunch of apples, pressed them myself,
Wow.
some heirloom varieties in Vermont.
Lucky you.
And yeah, right. Pretty amazing stuff. My friend just said, "Hey, I got some apples. Like, I know you make mead. Let's pick them." And then I'm using that Sweet Dakota clover blossom.
Good stuff, isn't it? I took a trip several years back and managed to come back with 5 gallons of it. It took some doings to try to hook up with this guy, but one of the house friends, one of our mead house friends, lives up in that area. And so I hooked up with him, and he turned me on to this other guy who turned me on to this other guy. And that I still have like 3 gallons of it left. We keep digging into it for like teas and coffees and other things. So I haven't done anything yet as far as fermenting, but I'm looking forward to it here when I start back up here in a couple of days. So, but Ryan, Jeff, I didn't mean to take up all the time here. And Kyle, if you want to sit by and hang out with us here for the rest of the night, we'd love to keep you here. I know Jeff and Ryan probably have a few more questions. I don't want to take up all the time here, but we do need to get to segment 2 of Jeff and the bonfire thing. But you're welcome to stick around, Kyle. Ryan or Jeff, go ahead, man. I'd rather sit here and listen for a little while now. I've talked long enough.
Kyle, what's the next? You think a couple of meads ahead with what you want to do with that barrel? What's next for you with it?
Yeah, so this cider that I'm preparing right now, it's almost done fermenting. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit longer, get nice and clean, and clear out a little bit, so I don't have a lot of trub and whatnot heading into the barrel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw that in there for probably 1.5 to 2 years, because I want it to really age, and especially with sizers, as JD was alluding to earlier, getting that apple character is really important, and age really helps with that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to throw that in there, and then after that, what I was thinking is going more Polish style of just letting it sit for a super long time, like 3 to 5 years. A lot of the barrel characteristics are going to be stripped from that point, and I just want like something glorious to come out of there. And I've been thinking of something like 20% semi-sweet, like something that can last with some serious age and a little bit of that oxidative characteristic. So that's kind of the plan for that barrel.
Sounds like a good plan.
It's been on the list for a long time, but I think I'm getting close. Is getting a barrel. I don't know if it's gonna be 30 gallons. I actually was thinking about getting one that was a little smaller than that, and starting a barrel Solera project. And so it would be a traditional, and doing a traditional in the barrel, and then every year I was thinking about a yearly Solera of taking half of the volume out and bottling it, and drinking it, and then replacing that empty space with a newly fermented, freshly fermented traditional, so that over time you kind of keep compounding of the depth of flavors over that. And with 30 gallons, that that's tough because you've got to really like your style, or like
Yeah.
you're talking about, you can do, sizers and Polish meads and melomels and bouchets and all your different things, and kind of pull in your different layers of flavor that you're going to leave behind a little bit. So very, very interesting stuff. Excited to hear more about how this stuff progresses as it does. Jeff, what do you have?
So the Tomcat gin, I've just been looking this up online here, was a really interesting choice. I thought. What kind of like flavor notes are you getting off of the mead that you've been aging on this gin so far, or the gin barrel so far?
Yeah, so I'm not getting like a lot of juniper characteristics in there, like not like astoundingly gin, but I'm getting a lot of I'm getting definitely a lot of floral notes that are coming through, botanical notes besides the gin. I think it's just highlighting and smoothing out the honey flavors and characteristics. There's definitely more of that bourbon character to it. So what I was actually thinking for, since I have 30 gallons of it, when I empty it, I'm going to take reserve 5 gallons and then do a secondary addition of botanicals. So like juniper and then maybe a little coriander, orange peel, that kind of thing. Just play around with it to kind of have a mead that was aged in a gin barrel, then flavored with gin.
Sure. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Kyle, if you want to stick around, we'd love to have you finish the show with us if you'd like. I know. Let's see, you're out in Vermont, so it's rather late out there for you, I know. But and I don't know what time work starts, but you feel like sticking around?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on into segment 2. And Kyle, we're going to have you back because I don't think we're done talking to you yet. So we'll put you on the calendar. Ryan will be in touch with you. He does all our booking. He's our booking agent. So and I know he's got your email. So but we will continue on with this discussion, I'm sure. Segment 2, Jeff, taking the kid to school. And, I've done the same thing, walk out the door, kiss the wife, forget my briefcase, and get down the end of the block. Oh, damn, go back to the house. But I had never thought of bonfires. So what brought this on?
This was not getting down the block. This was not getting down to the block. I took 2 steps outside and went, oh, damn. It was 86 yesterday. It is 56 today.
Oh,
let's go grab a jacket. And I got to thinking, man, it is definitely feeling like fall today. I've got to figure out, wood supply to the new house and get some of these fall bonfires going.
Yeah.
And, of course, bonfire parties, there's got to be alcohol involved.
Of course.
And so what flavor goes real nice with the bonfire? A couple of years ago I did that s'mores mead, so it's been done. It's okay. I might repeat that again, but it's not on the cards this year. And I got to thinking, smoky flavors.
Smoky flavors, yeah.
And it's kind of a natural with bonfires. There's a few different approaches we could take with getting smoke flavor into a mead. There are probably some really terrible ideas for smoke that we could discuss, or terrible ways to go about getting that. There are probably some great flavors that could, pair really nicely with it. So I thought we might throw this around the table and share some ideas with the Mead House Nation here.
Well, I know, when it comes to smoke, I mean, I know you, Jeff, that Smoky Pete is like one of our favorites. I mean, that's no mistaking. And to get that kind of smoke, to get that kind of flavor into a mead to the point where it tastes like you're drinking a scotch made with honey. I mean, who'd ever thought of that, But Ash and Evan have done it, and they're doing it. And So I think smoke goes very well with honey and water and yeast in that respect. But one thing that I played around with, actually it's been a while back, maybe a year and a half ago, was some smoky malt. Ryan, I don't know if I know you like to play around with different kinds of grains and whatnot, but
Yep.
I got this smoky malt that was it was a peat smoke. It was a peat like malt, and or not like a peat like malt. That's kind of stupid, huh? Like a peat smoke type malt. You get my gist, right? So incorporating something like, would it be just, I don't know, honey and water just seems so plain to me, and then to introduce this smoky flavored malt, it seems kind of plain to me.
Well, JD, we've clearly spent too much time together, because that's exactly where I went when I wanted to introduce some smoke to a braggot and a meat as well.
Yeah.
Is using smoked malts. Now, I know that we've had folks on who've talked a lot about elaborate, like, reverse bonging smoke into water, and your vacuum pumping smoke into water, and,
right.
and that kind of thing. Or smoking cherries. Somebody said they threw a bunch of cherries in a smoker and smoked their cherries, and then made smoked cherries, or smoked hops, or things like that. Anyway,
yeah.
No, I don't have the elaborate setups like that, and I don't have the desire to concoct them. So I just walked down to the homebrew store and got smoked malts. And there's a bunch of different smoked malts. There's the German smoked malts. There's the cherry wood smoked malts. There's those English, like you're talking about, the English peated smoked malts.
Yeah.
And you get these smoked malts, and then you can just steep them. You can just cold steep them. You can hot steep them. You can play around with getting that. And especially if you're kind of cold steeping, you're pulling a lot of the flavor and the color, but you're not pulling a ton of. I mean, there's any of the bitterness or anything else that you might get from some of those
right.
grains. So it is. Now, you could use that water alone as and mix in your honey, and you might get some. I mean, that's use a lot of malt, I'm thinking, to get real good smoke coming through. I mean, a lot of these you get a little bit of smoke on. So I mean, you'd have to use a significant amount of these grains to get that. And JD, I don't know what you're talking about. If you're just doing that, you might want to re-dry them out and grind them into flour and do whatever you were talking about doing with them at one point. But I don't know how well smoked French toast would work out, but somebody can let us know and try.
Yeah.
But where I would go with this too is there's a German style of beer, and I am blanking on the name right now.
Rauch beer, I think.
Well, no, not that one. There's a style of German beer that it's one of the lost styles, so to speak, and it is smoked malt and lemony. It's smoky and lemony.
Oh,
it's really weird. It's really delicious, and if it's done right. So I get what you're saying, JD. If you don't just want the two notes of smoke and honey,
right,
which I think you could do very well, I'm sure has been done very well. How do you introduce additional flavors to it? Well, the style, like I said, there's a German style of beer that is smoky and lemon. You could do something like that. You could introduce a fruit, so a citrus fruit. You could probably go with a cherry or an apple, or something else that like a smoked sizer or a smoked cherry melomel or something like that, or peach. would probably go well better. Citrus, really, any of the citruses might kind of work. So you could do some things like that, and that's how I would start approaching it. Now there's another one too, and I don't have this name in front of me. I looked at our show notes late and didn't pull out everything. But there is an incredibly smoky tea. Jeff, you might remember the name. I'm not putting you on the spot, but you might remember the name. It's just like an ultra smoky loose leaf tea, and if you can buy that, and you could steep that tea, and that would also give you a lot more smoke if for some reason you don't want to deal with malt. So gluten allergy or sensitivity or something like that. I sure understand that. We've had a lot of people tell us that the reason they got into mead was because of a gluten allergy or sensitivity, and that they need to do it that way. So this other tea, and I'm blanking on the name of the tea.
It's either Lapsang or Lapsang Suichong, and I'm probably butchering.
Lapsang, yeah, the Lapsang. The Lapsang tea is so smoky. And you could make that tea and ferment that. Now, if I was doing that, I might make my own kind of blend. Maybe a little orange peel in there. Maybe maybe a little ginger. Maybe even a little hibiscus, just to get a bright note to bounce against that smoke, and you can create a really interesting tea blend, and do that one of two ways: either make a big huge pot of tea and use that as the water, or just dry hop the tea into your you're basically a secondary.
Well, Jeff, where would you want to go with this smoky flavor? I mean, I like anything smoked. That one's right. I can't remember the name of that damn scotch that I could. The wife and I, actually the wife saw it and she wanted to try it, and she was completely not into it. But I mean, you could soak a steak into it and think you smoked it in a smoker. It's that smoky. I don't remember the name of it, but that's a scotch. That's the peat type smoke. So, Jeff, what smoke are you leaning more towards? Is it more towards that, or more towards like the wood chip? And even those come in different flavors,
Oh yeah. I mean, you go down the smoker aisle at any Home Depot, and there's at very bare minimum, there's apple, there's hickory, there's cherry, and there's like adder or something else. There's at least a few different options for you there. At least a few. Man, I went a few different directions with this. I mean, one of the first things that came to mind was like there is a proprietary batch at the homebrew store that I used to work at. That is it's a honey smoked porter. So they make a porter. They use a little bit of that peat malt and a little bit of that smoked malt to get all those smoky flavors in there, and then they back sweeten with a little bit of honey. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm honestly tempted to just go grab another batch of that just to have that around, because it was pretty damn tasty. But then I got to thinking about fruit, and fruit plus smoke. That sounds pretty tasty, and I don't know if I would want to go to the lengths of getting a bunch of cherries or a bunch of peaches or something like that, especially now when that stuff is not exactly in season. And smoking it in a smoker and then putting it into a mead. I was kind of thinking along the lines of, let's just get some frozen fruit, and let's use either a little bit of malt for the steep and grain kind of effect, or some of that Lapsang tea could work nicely. There's a couple different approaches here, but I kind of harken back to weirdly enough, there was a salad dressing I used to get at a deli at this place where I went to college. That was it was a smoked peach and habanero flavor.
Oh, there you go. Holy
And
cow.
I don't know if I would do the habanero, or
Yeah.
it might have been a chipotle. But yeah, it had peachy flavor. It had a little bit of spice to it,
Yeah.
and it had a smoky flavor to it. And my God, that was so good.
I'm thinking, one of the things that I've done, and I haven't made a mead with this, and maybe that should go on my list. But I have infused tequilas. I get a nice Blanco tequila, like an Avión or Corzo, and I'll get a couple of bottles of it. And what I do is I get a whole pineapple, and skin it down, and then I take and slice them up, and then I grill the pineapple on my grilling pan until they're almost black. I mean, oh my God, yeah. I mean, you get the caramelized flavors out of it and everything, and let them cool down. I chunk them all up, and I throw them in a big plastic container, and then just pour the tequila into it. And I got this wonderful pineapple barbecue smoky. I mean, you get that char flavor. Oh my God, dude, you talk about a pineapple margarita, knock your socks off. You can almost drink it straight.
Sure.
Kyle, sticking around with us. Kyle from Vermont, avid listener of the show, spending some time with us here tonight. Smoked mead, smoky, anything? You into that at all, or do people in Vermont smoke anything?
Yeah, so I was thinking of the same kind of tea that
Jeff.
Brian and Jeff were
Yeah.
about the Lab Sync song, and I would definitely go down that approach. We do smoke some things up here, but we're not famous for our barbecue, that's for sure. But yeah, I would definitely go down the tea route. I think that'd be just a fun way to go. I've been thinking about doing that myself. I would probably do it in a traditional or a. I could see with some fruits for sure, but
Yeah.
I would definitely just try with the traditional at first. Let the tea flavor shine.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could, if you go back a bunch of episodes, I know Ash and Evan talked about their smoke, how they smoked honey, and it's quite. I had the tour of the back room, let's say, at Sap House Meadery. They got quite the setup, and I know how they smoke all their their honeys and everything. You could probably duplicate it in your house, but it's a lot of DIY kind of stuff if you want to get to that point. But for our listeners out there, if you've got a smoker, I would just take some honey and put it in a metal container and set it in your smoker and get after it and see what that does. I can't help but to think that your honey wouldn't pick up, some of those smoky flavors for sure. Good stuff, Jeff. I think it's going to cause a lot of people to think here a little bit. And that's what we like to do here on the show is...
well, and on the topic of traditionals here, it just occurred to me, mesquite.
Oh, there you go. My God, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost a natural. I mean, with the flavors in the mesquite and a little bit of smoky flavor, I think that'd be real good.
Yeah, and I love that mesquite honey's got that peppery, smoky type of flavor to it on the backbone. That would be a great honey to start out with. Absolutely, good stuff. Well, let's get on to segment. This is my favorite part of the show here, and we've got checking. We can do 2 or 3 of them here. Of course, this is the Social Club, and this is where we try to answer questions from mead makers with no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew house. And we're lucky enough to have Kyle Ducharme here with us tonight, and he's going to stick around for the entire show. And so let's get on with some of these questions here. This is going to be a long one, guys. Actually, no. Did we do this already? Am I being impatient? Jeff, did we do this last week? I think we did. Yeah, we did. Apple cider vinegar. Yeah. Let me skip down here. All right, let me go down to the piment advice. I'm about to get my hands on 10 pounds of California red, scarlet, royal grapes. I have no idea what those are, and I live in California. And 10 pounds of green Stella Bella. I've never heard of those either. Has anyone ever made a piment with these? I'd love some advice, recommendations on using grapes. I figured I'd freeze, thaw, then steam juice the grapes separately to get a concentrate, but I'm curious about what amount I should use for a batch. I'd like to start with a gallon batch first to test the waters. Ryan, this is kind of more up your alley. You've done piments before, but he's talking about a couple of grapes here that I have no idea what he's talking about. California red scarlet grapes, red scarlet royal grapes. I don't know if those are wine grapes or table grapes, to be honest with you.
Nope.
Piments, though. You've done piments in the past. What would you recommend? Yeah.
I've done piments. As I look at that question, I'm going to pull it back up here. Yeah, I mean, steam juice, I don't know if you'd have to, and separately, no, you don't want to get a concentrate. When you buy a wine kit, by the way, when you buy a wine kit, you're getting a concentrated juice.
Yeah.
And that is because it's shelf stable and you can ship it anywhere and you can buy it anytime. It can sit on a shelf and it can, there's no issues with it. Well, also when you look at, you want to buy the real juice, right? So like wine clubs will have these great buys. Like they'll get a truck that comes in with California Chardonnay grapes or Merlot grapes, where they are, and you get the grapes and they crush them and you take it home and you ferment it right away. That's what you want. So if you've got grapes that are fresh, use those fresh grapes. Crush them, ferment them, press them, and get them going.
Yeah.
Get them the carboy. That's what the best flavors you're going to get are the minimally processed, right? I mean, minimal processed. Especially with the grapes. Just if they're ready to go, just pick them, or however you're getting them. If you're not picking them yourself, crush them, ferment them, press them, and give them a carboy, and that'll give you the best flavor.
Yeah.
that you can probably get.
Yeah, and I've seen, living out here in California, I mean, just north of me is the wine capital of the country, up in Northern California there, Napa and Sonoma and all that area, Santa Rosa and all that. You can buy frozen grape juice. Now, it's not concentrate, it's just frozen, and have it sent to you. A lot of these wineries will send you, a 5-gallon bucket of frozen grape juice. Of course, if you want to make your own wine. But, I figure, like Ryan says, I just, that the concentrated stuff is just, I don't know. I played around with some of those wine kits. I'm just not there. I've had some pretty darn good tasting cheap wines. Cheap wines. Let's say sub $20 a bottle wines that are pretty darn good. And I'm just not into the wine kits anymore. So I kind of go along with Ryan. I think raw grape juice, unadulterated grape juice is the way to go. Not that concentrated stuff. I'm going to throw this one over. Well, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
I was going to say, with a little bit of Google foo, I have determined that both of these grape varieties that he's talking about are seedless table grapes.
There you go. Yeah, okay.
They are on the sweeter side. The other thing I'm going to throw out here, call your stores. It's not unheard of for a number of these guys to have a wine crusher or a wine press that you can just rent for a day.
Yeah.
So, that's access to getting the juice out of those grapes.
Absolutely.
But we're talking about 20 pounds of grapes. And when you're buying grapes for the purpose of making wine, if you're making like a 5-6 gallon batch, you want to buy 2 or 3 lugs of grapes, which are 33 pounds each. So
there you go. Yeah.
Right now, with 20 pounds of grapes, we're probably talking a gallon or 2, depending on how much juice is actually in those.
Yeah.
Just to be full.
Yeah, there you go. And he's talking about starting out with a gallon batch first, just to kind of test the waters and see what he winds up with. Good stuff. All right, so moving on here, I'm going to throw this one actually down to our guest tonight, Kyle. What are some good meads that I can buy online? I don't have any local options. I would like to try some higher ABV types. Now, Kyle, you mentioned a couple of meaderies that you have tried in the past, such as Sap House. Can you name any meaderies that you've had samples from at all?
Yeah, so my list is definitely not exhaustive, but I've had really good stuff from Superstition Meadery down in Arizona. They ship through Vino Shipper. I'm actually part of their mead club, and as we were talking today, I got an email about their shipment this week. The Sap House meads are fantastic, and I highly encourage joining their mead club. $75 a quarter.
Yep.
It's fantastic. Get 4 meads. They're all very amazing and exclusive. They're usually not a part of their normal rotation, so it's something special every time. Ancient Fire over New Hampshire, I would highly recommend. They have a lot of local ingredients they use over there. Jason over there is amazing. He's a wealth of knowledge in both beer, wine, mead, and he's just a great guy. And yeah, he's an awesome guy, and I highly recommend their stuff. Lost Cause over in California area has some really amazing stuff too. I would just go on Vino Shipper. I would look around on Vino Shipper and see what styles you like, and look around there. Vino Shipper is a great spot, and it supports a lot of meaderies in this country, and I definitely think you should go through there.
You know what, Ryan? We need to hire this guy. We need to, we need to make him like a part-time, when you and Jeff need to take a time off or a day out or whatever, and we'll just call Kyle up and put him in the hot seat. Good stuff, Kyle. And good point about Vino Shipper. I was going to suggest that actually, vinoshipper.com, go there. And, because not every meadery can ship meads to other states. So Vino Shipper is a really good place to start to find out who does and who doesn't. This is another one that might be up Kyle's alley here. In the introduction, Ryan, we mentioned the fact that his parents, have a 1 acre hop yard that actually got him involved in the beer industry. So hopped meads, what are some good hops to use? I tried Citra, that's my favorite, and it was good. Cascade, that's another good one. Cascade was good too. Does anyone have any good hops or blends? I'm looking to make a hoppy mead to try to get some of my IPA loving friends to enjoy it. Is it best to to just dry hop for a few days until it gets to the level desired? 1 ounce per gallon. Kyle, let's start with you. Well, your folks have a hop yard there. Do you get into the hops at all?
Yeah, so the hop varieties we have, they're kind of old world style. Vermont actually used to produce hops back in 1800. But yeah, so when I hear that question, especially turning beer drinkers to mead drinkers and trying to appease that crowd, I definitely would want them to try to focus on the session strength, carbonated, because that's more of the avenue of beer anyway. And also hops, especially if you want that IPA style, especially my New England style. IPAs that we have up here, you want to dry hop a lot. I find a lot of value in dry hopping. I actually just made a IPA style mead recently with Matuka, Amarillo, and Pacifica hops. Either Pacifica or Pacifico, but they all have like these orangey characteristics, and I just dry hopped it with a little bit of orange zest, and
Oh, nice.
it was pretty nice. And I definitely recommend doing some dry hopping. And I think I did. I don't remember exactly. I think it was an ounce. I think it was 2 ounces each for a 5-gallon batch.
Yeah.
And what I would recommend is just dosing it. So you can do multiple dry hopping additions. Just keep the oxygen levels mitigated. Use a little bit of inert gas, argon, or some CO2. And you also want to try to consume these relatively quickly because, especially with session strength and hopped meats, you want to have that fresh pop of that hop flavor characteristic. Over time, the hops become a little more grassy. They're still good. It's just maybe not what you're going to be after if you let it sit around for too long.
Yeah. Jeff, in the homebrew store, was there one particular hop that kind of outsold the rest? And I know we're kind of dipping into the beer category here, but all in all, hops are hops, and they can be used in pretty much anything.
You know, at the time, there was one variety of hop that I think it sold maybe 4 times more than any other hop we had in stock, and it's going to come as no surprise. Citra.
Citra, yeah.
Everybody loves Citra. Citra's awesome.
Yeah.
When it comes to making like an IPA style hop, I'm kind of with Kyle here. There are a number of great ones like Muteka, Baka is another one that I really like. That are, they're the New Zealand hops or the tropical fruit hops. Those all have a great flavor that's really approachable. It goes nicely with the honey and the fruit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's I would go for sure. Another one that I really like that is maybe not getting as much play because it's a lot more delicate a flavor, but Lemon Drop has a really it blends some of that citrusy character with a little bit more like what do I want to say, like an old world kind of noble hop character to it that I think is really pleasant. So that could get a little more love, and I'd be happy with that.
And rounding it out here, Ryan, I know you like to play around with hops as well. Do you have a particular favorite that you like to use in a mead, or pick of the litter?
Yeah, I would second that. Citra's a great one. I really enjoy Citra in my braggots. When I make the Ryan braggots, which work really well. The other one that is a New Zealand hop, Waiiti, and I think it's WAI''ITI. I might be off a little bit on that, but it's close enough for Google to help you with if you throw the word hop on the end.
Yeah.
And that one gives really also nice flavors. And it's very, it's along the same, it's probably a kissing cousin of like the Citra in terms of what you're going to get out of it. So really enjoy that one as well. And that would be the second one that I'd try as well. But you can also try Mosaic is out there. That's a good one. I try to stay citrusy and fruity and juicy. I probably wouldn't, unless you're trying to go something specific, I wouldn't go earthy or bitter or neutral or things like that. I would go really citrusy or really juicy.
Yeah, Citra is probably one of my favorites. I like Cascade. Of course, like you, I like the citrusy. A lot of what I brew is for summertime drinking. Ice cold, low ABV. Even some of the beers that I do, the braggots I use the Citra hops always. and it just introduces this citrusy flavor that just almost makes you want to just go back to the Keyser and just, reach for that tap and pour another one. Good stuff. Let's see here. We better wrap it right here. We got a ton more of Social Club questions we can deal with here tonight, but I don't want to do a 3-hour show. So I think we're going to drop the hammer right there, guys. You know what a night. And Kyle, I'm going to talk to the boys. I think if you're up for it, we might just get back in here as a stand-in in case one of us wants to take a day off. You're pretty good at this, my friend, if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? Thanks for hanging out with us the entire episode. Kyle Ducharme from Vermont up there, and really gracious of him to share his story with us, his 30-gallon gin project. Gosh, man, I wish I was in Vermont right now. I'd love to take a taste of that. I love where you went with the Tomcat stuff. I just might try that. You've apparently listened to enough shows to know that I am just not a gin drinker, but you could make me one. I know Sap House, they've got a gin project, a gin barrel project that I quite like as well. So Ash and the boys out there, Evan, they know what they're doing for sure. But hey, if you want to get on the show too, just like Kyle, it's easy enough. All you got to do is just email us, let us know what you're brewing. info@themeadhouse.com like Kyle did, or just send us a message on Facebook or Twitter, both of those at the Mead House, and we'll set up a date. Ryan will get you logged in and booked up, and we'll get you on the show. So we'd love to hear about your brewing projects. I think that's going to be it for the night, boys. So Ryan, do the thing. Flip the lights off, Jeff. If you want to slam the door shut, Kyle, I don't know, man. If you just want to pick up the broom and sweep up the scraps, I don't know. Anyway, hey, hang out for next week. We'll be back with episode number 211 here at the Mead House. So take care, and we are gone.